Holy fuck, that's hot. Hello, good morning, or probably good afternoon by the time I post this. So a little while ago on this channel, it was probably like almost a year ago by now, but I filmed the Try a Chapter book tag. That was like a really fun book tag because you get to read the first chapter of like 5 or 7 books. And it really like gives you an idea of like the writing style of that book and just gives you a little taste of it. And so you get to read the first chapter of any books of your choosing, and then you get to like share with everyone what your thoughts were on the first chapter and if you do plan to continue reading it and that kind of thing. I thought I would do it again. It was just so much fun last time, and I've been meaning to make this video again for like ever, but you know, these videos take like hours sometimes to film because I don't check sometimes. Some of these first chapters are like up to like 20 pages, and so it takes me a bit to like read the first chapter of 7 books and talk about it. And yeah, so these videos do take a while, so that's why it's been a while since I've had the time to film this, but today we gonna do it. Whoa, sorry that first part was so zoomed in. Ugh, amateur. The original plan for this was that I was going to do books like Annihilation because I really wanted to read that, but the first chapter is like 35 pages, so I'm not gonna do that. So I do have 7 books here that I am planning on reading the first chapter of. Hopefully everything goes to plan. So the first one that I'm gonna do is The French Girl by Lexi Elliott. This is a book that goes on sale February 20th, and I was sent an ARC, so I thought it'd be cool to read the first chapter of this, see how it goes. Next one I wanted to do is The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis because I already checked and this has a super short first chapter, and this is something I'm super interested in reading, and so I just wanted to get a taste of what this book is like. The next one is going to be Wild Beauty, and this was a book that I got for my birthday, and this has been on like my most anticipated list, and it's been getting a lot of hype, so I just want to read the first chapter and see if it's something I'm interested in. Next one is A Different Blue by Amy Harmon. I believe that this is a student-teacher romance, but I could be wrong, but I think this is a new adult romance novel anyways. And the next one hopefully will be Ready Player One. I plan on reading this next month before the movie comes out, but I thought it'd be fun to read the first chapter and get a feel of what this world is like. The next 2 are my February book of the month picks, and that's The Great Alone by Kristin and Two Broken Girls by Simone St. James. I want to read the first chapter of these 2 because, especially this one, because this is getting a hell of a lot of hype right now. It's like really highly praised, and so I want to get a taste of what this story is about and what it's like. And this one I don't know much about, and I haven't been hearing people talk about it that much, but it's like a paranormal, scary type of book, and I really have covered all the genres in these 7 books because this is like paranormal, scary, this is a literary fiction, historical fiction, this is a new adult romance, this is like a fantasy, magical realism, this is contemporary chick lit fiction, I think, young adult, I think, and this is a thriller, and this is a sci-fi. So I didn't even plan that, but that's like literally all the genres right there. So let's get started reading these damn chapters. I don't got all day, let's go. I think I'm gonna start with my 2 book of the month books. I just finished the first chapter of The Great Alone, and I can already really tell that this writing is like really gorgeous, and I can tell that this definitely seems like it would be something I would enjoy. It does take place in 1974, and the main character is a 13-year-old girl, which is something I didn't expect. I don't remember if I read that in the description or not. It follows this family, and the father like went off to war in Vietnam, and now he's come back and he has some really serious PTSD. Now the father has come home and said that he wants to move his family to Alaska, and that's how the first chapter ends. That this is definitely something that I see myself reading in the near future. It already has that like emotional feel to it, like you can just feel how much the father just like loves his daughter, but he's really struggling with his PTSD, and it's already kind of sad and emotionally pulling me in. So I definitely think I see why this one is getting a lot of hype lately, and I can't wait to read this one. I kind of want to read it now, but I have to read all these other books right now. So this is what's really great about this tag, because I was low-key really not sure if I'd ever be into The Broken Girls. Like, this wasn't something that I was gonna rush to pick up, but I just read the first prologue and the first chapter, and like, holy shit, I'm already hooked onto this, and I already started highlighting in this. I didn't realize what this book was really about when I went into it, but now I'm like totally fascinated by it. It follows this girl in 1950, and she goes to this like boarding school late at night and she gets murdered. They blame it on the boyfriend and the boyfriend spends time in prison for it, but there's no like conclusive evidence that he was the one who did it. And so the prologue is told from the girl's point of view, like that died that night in 1950, and it's like really creepy. She says she like saw this woman in a black veil, and it was just really creepy. Like it was reminding me a little bit of like The Conjuring or something. Like it was just really creepy. Like it was working. Like the prologue was really good. And then in the first chapter it jumps to 2014 and we get to follow this journalist named Fiona that's the younger sister of the girl who died in 1950, and she's still trying to figure out what exactly happened, and she doesn't believe that the boyfriend was the one who killed her, and she thinks that there's something creepy and paranormal happening at this boarding school. Oh my god, it's just so interesting so far. I'm definitely into this one. I can't wait to read this. It sounds so interesting, really creepy. Like the first prologue was done really well and I'm really excited about it, and yes, I'm so thankful for this tag because I probably would have never read this, honestly. Next, I think I'm gonna jump into The French Girl. So just read the first chapter of The French Girl, and this one might get more interesting later on. This book, it follows this like group of friends, and the book starts with the main character getting a phone call from one of her old friends saying that it's been 7 years since this girl died, but they just said that they found this girl, the French girl, in the well at this barn that they used to party at or something in France. So it starts with her getting the call and being like, oh my god, and so she starts to have like flashbacks of that summer, and so far it's okay. This isn't something I'm gonna like rush to pick up. You know, sometimes thrillers take a while to really like get into the story, so it could just be one of those things where it just takes a while to get the feel of the characters. But I know there are some thrillers that I got hooked like instantly, you know, but this definitely isn't one of those, so maybe this will get more interesting the further that you get into it. I don't know. Just finished first chapter of A Different Blue. It went all the way to page 21. It was kind of long, and because it had a like long prologue in the beginning and then it had a long first chapter. The prologue seemed kind of like unnecessary, I feel like, because it just could have been told in a flashback or something. It was about the main character's name is Blue, and the prologue was about how her mom like overdosed on her 19th birthday or something, and so it was kind of explaining why she didn't have a mom. And it was like really sad, but like I don't think it's necessary to have a prologue to show how her mom died. I mean, maybe it'll have something later in the story to do with it, but I don't know, it just kind of felt like unnecessary. But then the first chapter was a little bit more interesting, and I was right, this is a student-teacher romance, and you guys know that I'm trash for student-teacher romances. Like, I don't know why, I just really enjoy them normally, so I'm hoping that I will like this one. And it's already kind of reminding me of that book Misbehaved by Charlie Rose, because of the way she comes from a very like poor background, and of course the teacher is very young and attractive, and he has a British accent because, you know, of course he does. So I mean, it's a little bit cliche, but I think that this has the potential to get really good, and it has an interesting setup so far. Definitely going to read this one eventually. I don't know, like I'm not like jumping to read it right away, but I think this is something I would hopefully enjoy. So yeah. I just finished the first chapter of Wild Beauty. I'm gonna be honest, I had a bit of a struggle trying to get through this first chapter just because it's written in a way that's like really beautiful and whimsical, and like it's magical realism and stuff, but it's just not really my thing. Like it has passages like spraying their pillowcases with bitter pollen they coughed up from their lungs as though it were blood. Like it's just it's written in a way that's very whimsical, and like it has like a lot of this like magical realism feel to it, but I'm just really like not feeling it, which is a shame because this book is like really gorgeous. And even like look at this title page, like wow, it's what I was expecting, but I still thought that I would enjoy it, but I just don't know if this book is something that's gonna be for me. It's really hard for me to pay attention to that first chapter. Why like some fantasy and magical realism books just aren't really for me. I just don't find myself as interested, but you know, we'll see. Maybe I'll read this one day, I don't know. Next up, I think I'm just gonna go with Ready Player One. Woo! Right, so I just finished the first like section of Ready Player One. I don't really know if this is chapter 1 or if this is like a prologue, because after this little section it goes to level 1. Maybe this was just the prologue, but holy shit, this sounds dope. I didn't really like know what exactly this book was about and what exactly the movie was about. I just thought it looked like a really cool video game world type of thing, and it totally is, but like the concept in this book is really interesting. This guy, James Halliday, created the Oasis, and like the Oasis is this virtual reality video game world that almost like everybody uses in the future, because this book takes place in 2045, I want to say. James Halliday was a teenager in the 1980s, and so he's really obsessed with the 1980s and all the culture and everything, and so the game is like reminiscent of the 80s. Something that I think is really interesting about this writing is that there's actual footnotes in the writing, which is like, it's so interesting. Like, and there's footnotes on almost every page. Like, I've never actually seen that in like a fiction book before. Like, I just think it's so interesting. James Halliday, he left behind this big Easter egg in the game, and if anybody finds it, then they get his entire fortune, which is like $240 billion, I think. That is so tight. I can't wait to read this book. First chapter of The Female of the Species was only 4 pages, so it was really short and I didn't get to like dive into the story very much, but it sounds kind of intense so far. It's like our main character is like following this guy into the woods and planning on killing him, so I'm kind of like, what? Right away. It's already making some intense political statements about men versus women and what it's like to be a female versus a male, and so I'm automatically really hooked into this. Really excited to read this one. This was a very successful try a chapter book tag. I wasn't expecting to even ever read this book, and now I like really want to read it like soon. I think the first ones I'm going to be reading out of all of these is probably The Broken Girls, Ready Player One, and The Female of the Species, because these are all the ones that have interested me the most. Really excited to eventually read The Great Alone. I think this one also is written very well. I'm excited about these. Like, really, Ready Player One, I can't wait to read this. I know it's going to be amazing. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys next time. Here's a puppy, oh my god.
Yeah. No, I just had a little bit too much of Hennessy.
Are my January, whoa, it's not January anymore. Ugh, I thought you, oh my god, I'm sorry. Oh my god. Here's a puppy, oh my god.